Hello everybody, I am Mark Werber, the Director of Association Management Software. I'm joined today by Frank Rittersdorf, your excellent trainer. Today we're going to tackle education. This is going to be part one of a two-part series. And as always, we're coming to you live from our multimedia studios here in Simi Valley, California.
And once again, make sure you upgrade to the latest and the greatest 10.1.07. There's a number of enhancements, including one that we're going to show you today in today's webinar.
Let's get started, Frank. Here's today's agenda. Today's agenda is Education, Part 1. We're going to define how courses and classes work together. Then we're going to use Magic's Getting Started wizard to cover how to create instructors, courses, charge codes, and classes.
Now, how does it all relate? How do courses and class relate? Courses, the one thing we've noticed as support reps, we've noticed that a lot of our customers like to use course and class almost interchangeably. But they actually have specific definitions. For instance, the course is actually the content of which the instructor is going to teach in its presentation. So for instance, code of ethics or home inspection. That would be two different types of course content. Now the class is the instance, like the time, the date, or even the place of where the instructor will be teaching the content. So in this case, we have course, which is code of ethics, but for that course, we're actually going to have an ethics class in May, as well as in July and December. Again, the class is the time and date that the content is taught. So again, those are very specific definitions, and we do not want to interchange them.
Let's get started. We're going to use Magic's Getting Started wizard, and the first step in getting started is to create instructors. This is our instructor, Godzilla, and he's teaching all the little reptilians about where to go. Let's show you how to create an instructor in Magic. We're going to navigate to Managers, Education, Getting Started. Then we're going to use the option for Create a Class. This will bring up the setup instructions or step-by-step instructions to create your class. Step 1 is Add an Instructor. By clicking Add Instructor, we'll be taken to the Instructor Query form where we'll see a list of all existing instructors. Remember to press Ctrl-E on your keyboard to create or establish a brand new record. For the sake of time, we're just going to zoom on an individual record so we can view the details. Each instructor will be given a unique ID. Then you'll enter the basic information for that instructor, like their last name, their first name, their address, all of their contact phone numbers, specializations, the association that they teach for, and a license number if you have one. If they're authorized to teach a class, they may have a certification. You can put the certification date here. And if that certification expires, you can enter the renewal date. This would be the status of their certification. And if you're paying them, you could also add a Social Security number and their pay rate. Along the right side, there's a bunch of other lookup buttons. The first one is Class Assignments. This cross-references the classes that Albert Johnson is currently scheduled to teach. From here, you can go into Create mode and actually assign them another class as well. Approved courses are all of the courses that Albert Johnson is authorized to teach. So when you create another class, you'll come up with a unique list of approved instructors. Internet is to track their email address. Notes, any personal notes that you want to keep on this instructor. Documents allow you to upload and track documents related to this instructor, like maybe their contract or agreement to teach. And a photo if you have one. Let's review. So the first step in getting started to create a class is to create your instructors. You'll go to the instructor query form and press Ctrl-E on your keyboard to establish or create a brand new record. In the instructor information form, you'll add some basic contact information, their specializations, their certification, their rate of pay. You can assign their class assignments directly from here, and there's some miscellaneous items you can also add, like what courses they're approved to teach, upload a photo, internet info, personal notes, and any documents related to this instructor.
Thank you, Mark. Now that you've entered in your instructors, now it's time to link those instructors to a course, because that's the content that they're going to teach. What we're seeing here is actual names of college courses in our U.S. university system for a number of classes or courses. And my favorite is number 3. Oh, look, a chicken, embracing distraction as a way of knowing. And here I thought I just had ADD, Mark. Let's take a look at how we create courses in Magic. So we're going to go to our next step in the getting started, which is create the course. And once again, you're going to go into the course query form where you're going to see a list of all the other courses. And to create one, you want to hit Control-E for establish. But in this case, we're going to F5 to one that we already have created or go into modify mode. The course ID is a unique ID that you create, as well as you have the nice descriptions that you can enter in here as well with the formal name. We have a couple other tables in here that you can zoom in and you can select. For this case, it's the course type table, which we have as accredited. But again, this is a kind of a free-form table where you can actually add your different types and whatever you want to put in here that's specific to your association. We also have the different type of formats. In this case, we chose live. But again, this is also another like free-form table where you can add whatever type of format you have. There are videos, web-based, online, and so forth. We also have a status option, which we have active, and then we have the education card credits. Now, education card credits actually could be its own webinar. So I'm going to just briefly kind of describe what they are and how it relates to the course for this particular webinar. Education card credits are prepaid. They're like a prepaid card where a member will pay a certain amount of credits for a certain amount of money. As they go through and they choose classes that they're going to take, the course will tell the class how many credits should be subtracted from their total. So in this case, it's going to be 3 credits. So if a member takes this course and they're trying to use their prepaid education card credits, 3 of those would be subtracted from their total. We also have the course billing group, which is a way to, again, link the education module to the accounting module through the billing group. We also have a free form comment, as well as you can actually put a document here that explains and describes the course for your members. You can cross-reference your instructions, like we have Albert Johnson in here, which we just showed you that was created. We also have certification information. Now, if you're going to be tracking your ethics transmittals, or your ethics tracking code of ethics for NAR, you definitely need to go ahead and put the state in here, if nothing else. Everything else you can add what you like. This again is a form that you can put in here, but for the tracking and the transmittal of the ethics, you definitely need to put your state in here. We also have a notes section in here. This is our best instructor, so we do want to give him the royal treatment. And of course, you can put documents regarding this, like maybe the venue agreement for this particular course. Let's review. So again, we have a list of our cool names of our universities, college courses. But how do we create courses in Magic? Let's review. Well, we'd go to the course query form and hit Control-E to establish a new course, which will basically take us to the course information form, where you can put in your unique course ID, description, and name. Also, you can set up your course type as well as a format, which would be live, online, or book. You have education credit card credits that you can assign to this course so that it will subtract from the members that have them on their accounts, as well as linking this education module to the accounting through the bill group. You can post your document, which you want to save in your IMS server, webs, documents, and then also the certification information. So again, whether your course is going to be a classroom live format through a book or a video, or even online so that you can keep that bond with your cat at home, or your members can keep that bond with your cat at home, this is where you set it up in the course information form. Now let's talk about create the charge code. Because accounting always has to have their fingers in everything, right? So let's talk about how we do that in Magic. Our next step, which is step 3, is going to be create the charge code. This will take you to the charge code table. Of course, Control E will establish, but we're going to go into a charge code that we have created currently for this course and class. Now, most of the time, the accountant is probably going to create this. So I'm not really going to go field by field through this form, but I do want to cover a couple of different things. The first thing is the charge category. It's really important to make sure this is accurate because the category creates a set of rules of how this charge code is going to be billed or charged and through accounting. So it's very important to make sure that that is lined up through that, like for instance, the education, as well as make sure that your GL credit account is accurate as well. So when you're exporting information into your accounting software, it is going to the correct GL account. Let's review. So we went to the create the charge code. And there's a couple of different ways you can handle for your education. You could create a unique charge code for the specific class, each specific class, or a unique charge code for a type of class, like for instance, ethics. Or even just create one charge code for all your education classes. But of course, as you can see, there'd be a lack of accounting tracking in that mark. So the more unique your charge code is for each specific class, it is definitely a lot easier to track on the accounting side. And then also we talked about a couple of the tips in there in creating the charge codes. Make sure you have an accurate category so it follows the accounting rules that it needs to, as well as populate an accurate GL credit account so it's going to the accurate GL account in your accounting software. And now it's time to get into the main event. And Mark is going to go ahead and talk to us about that.
Okay, everything we've done up to this point has been to prepare or create setup tables for creating the class. So let's go to the class query form and show you how to set up your classes for the first time. So we're going to go back to Magic, and our Getting Started Wizard step 4 is to create the class or a single offering of a course. That'll take you to the class query form. From here, we'll of course go to create mode. For the sake of time, we're just going to pull up an existing class, our Orientation 2013. The class ID needs to be a unique identifier, unique to this instance of your course. You'll zoom on course ID to link this class to its course of study. So in this case, we're having an individual instance of orientation. So you'll enter that as your class name. The next field is, when is this class? What's the date of it? So this class is going to start on 9/14/2013. It's only a 3-hour session, so it's going to end on the same date. Deadline date is important for registration purposes. At some point, you no longer want to accept registrations, so you'll set a deadline. That means on IMS, or Internet Member Services, that nobody will be able to register after this date. The next is the start and end time. What time of day is this class going to occur? Default grade has to do with registrations. When you register somebody for a class, sometimes it's easier to assume or set a default grade. In this case, the default grade is pass. If somebody's a no-show or they happen to fail the test at the end, you can always change the grade to something else. Location is important. Where is this class going to be held? This is a Zoom table that will take you to the location query form. In this instance, we're going to use the Red Lion Hotel in the patio area for this event. Course provider is an optional field, and course provider is designed in case the association is not the one sponsoring this event. It may be sponsored by maybe one of your affiliate organizations. Comment is just a place for you to put free-form text. This next section has to do with attendees. Because we're having this in a hotel room or in a hotel public area, there's probably a maximum amount of registrations you're allowed. So the facility can only hold so many people. In this case, we've set the maximum to 50. That's important to note because when you reach that maximum, the software will no longer accept registrations. You can put them on a waiting list though. Minimum is also important because you need a minimum amount of registrants for this event to even take place. So if you don't get the minimum amount of registrants, you may decide to actually cancel the event altogether. And registered is in red because it's a running total. Excuse me. And it shows that we currently have 19 registered. And 0 are on the wait list. Under options, there is a feature where you can print tickets. For that feature to work properly, you must select this print tickets option. Also, you don't keep all class information in the system for years at a time. There is a utility that allows you to purge them. For this class to be purged from the system, the option needs to be checked as OK to purge. Down in the accounting section, we need to associate a charge code related to this function. So it's for the billing group, Anytown Association of Realtors, and this is a Zoom field that will default the charge code for this event. We'll show you the charge code in detail when we look at the rate options on the right side of the screen. So let's look at the right side of the screen, these buttons. The first one at the top is IMS options, or Internet Member Services options. This is how you want this class to appear on the web. So the first thing is, do you even allow registrations? Yes. No. No means that the class won't even appear. And display only means that they can see the class online, but registration is not allowed. The next field is open to public. Is this class available to anybody that navigates to your website, or is it only available to members? If they can register online, can they cancel their registration online? They can either cancel, yes, not cancel, no, or you allow them to cancel the registration before the deadline date. Sometimes you want to define this class or add additional information like a marketing flyer. You can do that by uploading the additional class info file. You can also use a grouping feature for IMS that will group like classes together under their own hyperlink. Under the IMS registration form options, we do have a feature called Free Class Credit Card on Deposit. That means that there's no charge for this class. However, because seating is limited, you may charge something like a cancellation fee, and so you want to take their credit card in advance. If there is a cancellation fee, you probably want to add an additional registration info file that clearly defines what your cancellation policy might be. And you can even use an acknowledgement required feature. An acknowledgement is similar to when you download and install software. You have to agree by the terms. So you can actually put your own label of what you want them to agree to, and until they select that they have read and agreed to the terms, they will not be able to continue with their registration. And we've added a brand new feature to the IMS class options. That's where you can enter a description directly on the screen. In the past, all you had the ability to do was to add an additional file or a hyperlink that they could be redirected to bring up additional information, but now you can type a description directly on the screen. Let's look at the rate table. The rate table is the price we charge for this class. So the software only knows two rates, member and non-member. So when either you as a staff person or the agent themselves go online to register, the software will default the rate based upon their member record as being a member or non-member. So you notice that the member rate, the class is free. The non-member rate, the class is $10. You can create an unlimited amount of rates here. So we have a complimentary rate, we have a cancellation fee rate, But keep in mind the software only knows 2 rates. What are those 2 rates, Frank?
Member and non-member.
Correct. And if you don't want the software to create an invoice all the way at the end, you can set the software to say create invoice yes or no. This is where we assign the instructors. And we know that Albert Johnson is instructing this class. You can add additional instructors here or look at the approved instructors list through the button at the bottom of this page. Sponsored items is just a way for you to track those things that are donated or sponsored for this specific function. So, for example, the coffee break is being sponsored by Action Realty and it's valued at $300. It's just a way of us noting and recognizing the things that are being donated or provided by other entities. Registered is just a way to cross-reference those that are currently registered for this event. Waitlist, as you can see, is low lit because we don't have anybody on the wait list today. Class meetings is a way for you to track multiple meetings. This event is only 1 meeting date, so there's only 1 line item in there. However, if the class is meeting over multiple occasions, you would see that information here. Class attendance allows you to cross-reference those that have attended and not attended, and there is a supporting report for this. And then the final button on the screen is a copy class feature. So orientation is a great example because you offer orientation multiple times throughout the year. Now, it took me a while to explain all these fields, and whenever you have a new event, you may not want to have to enter them all again if the only thing that's really changing is the date and time. So in this case, you can use the copy class feature and it will copy everything about this form in its entirety, and then all you have to do is change the start dates and times. That was a lot of information, Frank, so let's review.
Thank you, Mark. So Mark first took us into creating the classes, and he took us to the class query form, and we talked about doing Control E to establish a new class, which takes you to the class information form. Now, the class information form will link to the course by using the course ID field and populating that correctly. We also talked about the start and the end date, as well as the deadline date, which is the last day they can register, especially on IMS. In-house, you can make exceptions, but on IMS, they will not be able to register after that deadline date. We talked about the attendees, where there's the maximum amount as well as the minimum. And we also talked about accounting, the bill group and the charge code, how it's linking this course or this class is going to link to the accounting side of things so you can track the funds.
The additional buttons down the right side were IMS options. And remember, IMS options are how the software behaves for online registrations. So some of the features to keep in mind is, do you allow public to register for these classes? Do you want to allow different options for canceling the registration? You can upload additional information documents about this class. There's a grouping feature to group like classes together under their own hyperlink. You can force the agent upon registration to use an acknowledgement option with a customizable label, and our brand new feature, which is the IMS class description, which allows you to type in details about the class and it'll show right there on the registration page. We also covered the rate table. The rates were not good, cheap, and fast. The rates were member and non-member, cancellation, complimentary. Those are the rates. The rates are variable. You can also have a rate that is before and after the deadline. You can have different rates for IMS registration versus in-house registration. You don't have to have any rates. A class can be free, and you can define whether you want the software to create invoices or not.
We also had a number of miscellaneous items down the right side, which, for instance, where you link your instructors to your class, which office is sponsoring what. You can cross-reference who's registered, as well as if anybody's on the wait list. If there's multiple class meetings, you can kind of check that out and see what times those are going to meet, as well as track class attendance. And of course, you have the great copy class to help, so you don't have to go through and duplicate every single class every single month if you're offering it that often.
Okay, this is our stopping point for today, Frank, so can you summarize for us?
I sure can. So we first talked about courses and classes. What's what? And we talked about how each one of those has a specific definition. They're not interchangeable. We also talked about the Getting Started Wizard and how that is a great step-by-step to creating your education courses and classes. And boy, did we create. We created instructors, created courses, charge codes, and even created a class. Now you're ready to allow your members to register for your classes.
That's right. Let's see if there's any questions from the group today. Oh, here's a good one. How do you upload a document to the instructors or a course? Why don't we show that? You actually don't upload it, you link it. So what we'll do, you can show it.
I don't know if we'll have the same drive that they will have.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Go ahead and show it. So go back to the class itself.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Or the instructor. Okay, when you look at this field, you'll actually notice, well, this is the wrong one.
Which one do you want?
Go to the
Like
instructor
this?
form. Here we go. Under the documents section, you'll notice that there's a file name. And from here, you should be able to, you just need to put the full path of where you've set it. So as an example, it's on the network, right? So you would actually put, you could zoom out and navigate to it, or you could put in the full path like C:// or wherever it happens to be located. So that answers that question, hopefully, for you. So it's not technically an upload, it's you link it to wherever it's located on your network. The new text feature, is it displayed for a course description? The new text feature is displayed as a class description. So the course, you still would have to upload a document, but for a class, the description will display directly on the screen. You don't have to hyperlink to it.
Do you have to create a new charge code every time you put in a new class, or can you just use the same one per course? And again, yes, I mentioned there's a couple of different ways you could actually use that charge code. You can create the charge code for each specific class, a separate charge code for each specific class. And again, that just will help the tracking aspect of it. I understand it might be a little bit more work when you're actually creating the classes, but when you're looking at for accounting and tracking funds and so forth, then that would help you track the funds regarding having that specific charge code. But if you want to just have, let's say, an ethics course, and each charge code for each class, you're going to use that same charge code, that would work as well as if you even want to just leave it wide open where you just say, okay, all my classes are going to be education charge code, and that's what you're using. But again, the more specific and the more unique the charge code is for each specific class, the easier it is for you to go back and track the funds on the accounting side.
And the last one is, will a system automatically notify you if the minimums have not been met for the upcoming class? No, the system will not notify you automatically, but if you do look at the class query form, you will see a running total directly on the screen. Can we go ahead and show them that too? So go to the class information form. Go to create class. Directly on this screen, this is fine right here, you'll notice all the way over to the right side, you'll see a running total of how many people are registered at any time. So you don't have to zoom into the class to see the details. What else do we have?
We have a question here for a new line. I want to make, in the description section, do you use specific characters to use to go to a new line? I want to make sure that I don't have a run-on sentence on the website. So if we go to the IMS options, if you use punctuation, there won't be a run-on sentence, but you can use, for HTML, as you can see here, we use BR, and that's more of an HTML thing. So you can actually go to any Google website or anything like that and just kind of find what will help you and get you, to solve your issue if you want to make it more spacing. This is one way of doing it through the HTML. But again, that's kind of more outside the Magic realm. It's more of HTML, which you can find in Google.
Any other questions?
Okay, so we actually have another question here. If the minimum attendance requirement is not met, does it automatically cancel the class and notify those that were registered? And the answer to that would be no. It's more of just letting you know. It's more of just a notice, hey, this is the 10. And as you're looking through your class registrations, you notice that there's not 10 is not met, then that's when you would go ahead and do the following actions that you would need to take.
Can you link a video in the IMS text field? Sure, why not? You could put a URL in there. I mean, it supports HTML, so whatever you type in there is probably going to display on the web. So if it's to a video, just make sure you type it in there correctly. I'm guessing you need, the http:// and then it'll show up as a hyperlink in that text field.
Yeah, and that definitely, if you're not familiar with that, I would definitely probably want to talk to your webmaster regarding that. Okay. And it looks like we are all set with the questions for today. But again, if you have any more questions, definitely feel comfortable emailing us at webinars@rapattoni.com. And now it's time for the Rapattoni 411. What?
Okay, as I mentioned before, this is part one of a two-part series on education. So our next Magic webinar will be held on August 28th. And that's going to be education part two. We're going to focus on going through the registration process, both in Magic and online via IMS. And we'll also cover some of the most common reporting options for education.
And once again, if you cannot get enough of our wonderful voices live, you can go to www.rapattoni.com, support Magic webinars and training videos, and you can hear our wonderful voices recorded. We have a number of modules that we have covered in the last 2.5 years. So almost pretty much anything that you might have a question for, we hopefully have done a step-by-step training video for you to kind of follow. And just make sure you use all your resources. So we do have the support Magic resource articles. Again, great articles to help you work through any of your questions you might have regarding Magic.
Thank you for participating today. We look forward to our next webinar, and have a great day.